Hi, everyone. This is Inkem Izamama from Phoenix Capital Investment. If you want to learn how to use your small axe to build an empire, you should be listening to the Small Axe podcast by my good friend Nico.
Hey guys, it's your boy Nico here from the Small Axe Podcast. I want to show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. You see, not everybody begins their investing career with millions of dollars, a huge network of investors, or the knowledge necessary to become successful in this space, and that's okay. What I focus on here on this podcast is helping you hone your skills, sharpen your tools to become the best investor that you can be. Now, I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this show. If you have any questions or you want to reach out to me or the guest, feel free to do so. Love you guys. Okay, Small Axe community, we are back. This is the second quarter wrap up, and I only have 2 contestants this year for the Accountability Series podcast, but I'm super stoked because these contestants are kicking butt. This person you have never met before. She missed my first, or I didn't get her on for the first interview, but I'm going to catch you guys up to everything that she's been working on now. So you're going to find out all about her. She's really, really a cool person, really doing some awesome things, and she's already kind of having a lot of momentum. So without further ado, Inkem Izamama, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Nico. So real quickly, I'll just tell you a little bit about who I am and kind of how I got to where I am today. Nico, thank you for thinking about me. Thank you for inviting me here. I've watched you, I've listened to you. And so to be able to come on here, it's kind of neat. So as Nico said, my name is Inkem Izamama. I am an ER physician. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. Went to school in the DC area for med school and then trained in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then made my way to Nashville, and I've been there. So a little bit about kind of where I got to where I am today. So after school, all we knew is we went from making no money to a ton of money with a lot of debt. No one ever taught us what to do. We just got out, and maybe the last year, so maybe they sent a financial advisor to just kind of tell us, hey, invest your money. And all they said was stocks and 401k. And that's really what I walked out thinking I was going to do. And that was okay for a little bit, but I knew I wanted more. And last year, I stumbled upon multifamily investing. I met a group, a really awesome group, and they had already been strong operators. They'd been going for a few years, and I kind of just lurked. I just watched what they were doing. First, I thought this was maybe a Ponzi scheme because I didn't know much about it. But then the more I learned, the more it just made sense. And the one thing I did, which I'm so grateful that I did, is that I started off as a passive investor. And that way, I just learned what it meant to invest, in multifamily assets. I knew I wanted to diversify, but I really didn't know what that looked like. And so when I got this opportunity, I learned about passive investing as a passive investor. I learned what it meant to get a K1. I learned what it meant to get investor summaries. I learned all of that. And after I started learning that, I was and I got proof of concept. I got my first distribution. I got my second distribution. I was this made sense. I was fortunate because I had disposable income. And so I could put that money aside and just kind of watch and see what it did. And oh, by the way, I had stocks and 401ks that were drowning. And so I was what else is out there? What else is working? And so as I learned, the people around me were ooh, what are you doing? What are you interested in? How are you making money? What's going on? And it wasn't really more about money. It wasn't all about money. But I also knew that 90% of millionaires made their money through real estate. So I knew at some point I wanted to get in. When I started learning about this made sense. And that's really how I got into multifamily investing. I started as a passive investor. And then after that, I kind of, I said, I got proof of concept and I knew I wanted more. And I also knew that I wanted to give access to a lot more people, friends, family, colleagues who didn't know about this, but who had the income just because of what we did. And that's how I built Phoenix. I started off with just learning, and then it went from there.
So cool, Inkem. I really appreciate that story. And jumping in as a passive investor is one of the most powerful ways to begin. And you get to see exactly what you said. You get to see proof of concept, how things work. And then at some point you're you know what? I can do this too. And I want to do this. People like you and I, we feel that real estate is a wonderful investment vehicle. We also feel that it's fun. This is something that we enjoy doing. we wouldn't do this, or we wouldn't pursue it at such a fast pace and such you know, a hard pace if we didn't think that it was something that was going to be awesome. And so kudos to you for taking that step to become an active investor. Now, before we continue, though, one of the criteria for being an Accountability Series podcast contestant is you have to have no assets under management, and that being 5 units or above, come January 1st in 2023. And you have not, is that correct?
I have not.
Excellent. Now, from there, though, I don't remember when we first spoke, but I could not believe the enthusiasm, the energy, and the excitement in your eyes. And it reminded me of myself a few years ago when I began. And I said, this girl's going to kick butt. And I really wanted to get you on this. So I'm appreciative to have you here as well. Now, over the past few months, you have been working towards being active. You talked about how you were a passive investor. How are you working towards being an active investor?
Okay, that's a really, really good question. And like, seriously, when I got proof of concept, I knew like this was what I wanted to do. Like I couldn't, like I love medicine and I thrive in that, but I also knew like there was a part in me that was like, there was a spark that was lit. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do next? So I started off with, and I'll tell you what I did. So I started off with like the Bigger Pockets boot camp. What I wanted to do was like, I needed to make sure that this was something that I wanted to invest time, resource, energy. And so I started off simple. I started off cheap. And I just did like the Bigger Pockets boot camp. And it was like, I think 2 months or so, not long. And it was just the basics of multifamily investing. And that's when I learned. I started that way and I started learning and I realized, ooh, this is what I want, but this is this is a great start, but I needed a deeper foundation. And so as I started knowing that, okay, I want to become an active investor, I started networking. That was one of the big things that I did. I started going to conferences. And one of the things that I think that was really pivotal for me was that in January, which I didn't have anything, I started looking because I started thinking, mastermind, mentorship, what are people doing? I started asking a lot of questions and I stumbled upon Kingdom REI and they had an accelerator program. And it was like 12 weeks of like just intense, hardcore learning. And they split you into two groups. It was either deal finding or capital raising. And that was like a big thing for me because I knew, okay, I had gotten some of the foundation, but I needed to learn more. Like all I knew was medicine, and not all I knew because medicine is a ton, but like all of this, I didn't know a lot of it, but I wanted to come out strong and I wanted a foundation. And so I started taking that. It was a 12-week course. And at the end of it, like it taught you underwriting. I did the capital raising track and it was for a few reasons. One, because I knew that like I had the network. I had a network of people who I felt like had disposable income, had income that they had amassed, and maybe it would be it would still be difficult, but like I could tell them, hey, this is what I'm doing. What are you doing with your income? How can I help you grow your wealth through passive investing? And so I went down that route. And the two key things that I took out of that was like, it helped me build a mindset. Like it helped me change my mindset where I moved from, hey, my name is Nkem, I'm an ER physician, and that's who I am, to no, that's just part of who I am. I'm way more than that. And I can also be an active real estate investor. Like I can also be an entrepreneur. And that was like very pivotal in how I showed up to conversations, like how I showed up, like bringing my best self. And then the other thing I learned from that was like in capital raising, one of the things I really learned was like your power base. So I started learning like who's in my circle, who can I reach out to, who already know, like, and trust me. Like who are those first people that I can come to and say, hey, I know you've always known me as this, but this is what I'm doing. You know my track record, you know who I am. And as I learn, I want to show you, I want to be transparent with you from the get-go. This is what I'm doing. This is where I'm starting. This is how I'm educating myself. And these are the reasons that I've seen success in myself that I want to bring it to the world. And so that's kind of how my foundation really started.
Wow, that's amazing. And Kim, and you know what? You are the exact person that needs to take that accelerated course. You're not going to sit and wait. You're somebody that's going to jump in head first and just go for it. So perfect way to get started. And I like that. And I just looked up Kingdom REI. I haven't heard of them actually, but it's so interesting that they split you up right away. And I think that's so important because one of the main things that people are slow to pick up is what their role is. And if we can find out or figure out our role sooner, it's going to fast track your success. So wonderful stuff. And you definitely have the personality and the sociability to be a capital raiser and talk to people about the awesome investment vehicle that we are investing in. So that's wonderful. Now, so have you gotten any access to deals? Are you working with specific groups? Are you just looking at a bunch of groups? Are you looking like how are you looking for deals?
Okay, this is a good question. So I did tell you that I went through the capital raising track, but that's really not where I want to end up. Now I realize that and I want to share with you kind of my next steps, what, I work on quarterly goals. So I'll tell you I'll share with you what the next steps were. But for me, I knew that I knew I needed to learn. And I knew that the best way that I could learn is to learn from others. Wisdom is learning from other people's mistakes. And so I wanted to learn, my goal is to own and operate multifamily deals. But I knew that starting out that it would be the best thing I could do was learn from others. And so that's how I decided that I was going to capital raise, because then I would be part of a team where I can learn how they run business. I could really learn the business of multifamily investing with the team after I've truly vetted the team and made sure these are the people that I want to work with in plans for my big goal. So that's one of the things that I really, really wanted to do. And then that was kind of my start in picking a group. But so where I am today is with the accelerator program, it so coincided that at the end of it, there was a deal came up, and it was one of the a member in the group, a deal came up, and I had been vetting them. I'd been vetting the team. I'd been vetting that group. And so when the deal came up, I was like, okay, I'm going to wear my big girl pants and I'm going to do it. And so that's how I started. The opportunity, it just kind of fell in my lap. But that's not the only route that I'm going. Really, this season for me is, because this is in line with our growth and our trajectory, my goal is really to spend time really vetting operators. I'm looking for specific things in how people run their businesses, because that translates into, as partnering with them, it translates into who we are and what our investors see. So that's a very big part of this season for me, is really getting to know other operators, getting to know, other deal sponsors, in line with partnering with them in the future, because that's the way that I see the trajectory of growth for Phoenix.
And Kim, that is so cool. And I always tell people, so that you have to get into a deal somehow. And you might be a really hard worker, you might be really skilled at certain things, but if you have never managed a portfolio before, or a multifamily property, who's going to hire you as the asset manager? Who's going to, take you on as the CapEx, on-site project manager? Nobody's going to do that just because they like you. So one of the best ways to get involved at first and to see what goes on even more so behind the scenes is through bringing capital. That's what I did. I was a co-sponsor, and you get to learn so much. You get to see the asset management side. You get to sit in on all the calls. And I like that your ultimate objective is to be the owner operator of everything. And I'm doing the same. Although it is extremely important to learn all aspects of it, and I also like that you're kind of setting quarterly goals or yearly goals for yourself to kind of get a little taste of every part and every role of this business.
Yeah. So
awesome.
That's kind of what I'm doing. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So with this first capital raise, so we're not going to talk specifics about the deal because it didn't close yet in this 506B, but how was it? Was it challenging? Did you were you told how much you were supposed to raise? How did that go?
So, okay, I'm just gonna be honest. So because I was brand new, they gave me a small raise. They were just we want you, we see the potential, we see your future. And that's working with good people. They were just we kind of see that, you have the potential to grow. So I had a small raise. But I knew that, I wanted to push myself. I knew that part of this was saying, Kim, what can you do? What are you capable of doing? So I doubled what was asked of me. And that's just because, and the funny thing is when people see you, when people see the effort, when people see the work that you're putting in, and when they believe in what you're doing, the answers were yes, Nico. I didn't have, I don't want to say that it was it was easy, because I put in the work, but I got yeses from everyone. Like, I randomly spoke to a woman who I was just like, she said, conversation was not about real estate investing. She said, I haven't spoken to you in a while. I just want to catch up and see what you're up to. And I was like, oh, this is what I'm up to. And at the end of the conversation, it was like, I would like to invest. This is in line with what I want to do in my life. And at that point, I realized that, wow, people get it. People see what this is all about. People really want to build, generational wealth. They want to build other streams of income, in order to like simplify their lives. I had colleagues at work who are like, I'm in. Like, it wasn't even a question. I was like, you need to read the PPM. And they're like, I did. But like, I get it. And so it was really, I am so glad that like I got proof of concept, but so did everyone else, and so it wasn't difficult. It wasn't challenging, and yes, even if like I have the network of people, the calls, I was still putting in the calls. I was still putting myself out there. I was still learning. I was still showing up on social media. Like, all of these things culminated to like it's looking easy, but it wasn't. So I was proud of myself. Like, they were like, you can do this, but I was like, oh no, I can do more. And like, so it ended up being really cool. It ended up being really amazing. And they encouraged me every step of the way. Like, every time I told them, I'm like, oh yeah, so I learned this. And this is like, people would say, oh, people will soft commit. And at the end they would say no. So they would say, double your soft commit. And I get that. But I was just like, you know what? I think the people I'm talking to they're interested from the get-go. And so their yeses are their yeses. And at the end of the day, I got 10 soft commits and I got 9 in total, 9 investors. And so like, it was a great start where I was like, okay, people get it. People are doing it. People want to jump in. So it wasn't easy. It was challenging, but it was a challenge that I would take on any day.
Oh, this is incredible. I am so impressed. And I think that what happened there was people believe in you. They see you as a person who is hardworking, trustworthy, and, going to go to bat for them and make sure that their investment is safe and secure. So they don't even need to read that PPM. Obviously, yes, we have to tell them to read that PPM, but they're investing with you. And that is what really matters. I am extremely
Let me say this real quick, Nico. What you said is spot on, because I had a colleague of mine who did not look at anything. And I said, hey, did you read it? And he's like, no. He goes, take my money, make it work for me. But what that did for me, was that made this even more of a reality. Like, it was just like, okay, Nkem, you are in this, and like, your investors are the most important thing. And so you have to know what you're doing. You have to vet the operators. You have to ask the hard questions. You have to ask for a background check. Like, you have to make sure that you know who you're partnering with, because you're right, like, they trust me. And so my job is to make sure that like everything lines up. And that was the first time that I was like, okay, this is serious.
Oh, yes. I know that feeling. Awesome, Nkem. Okay, now we have a few months until the next interview. What are you planning on working on?
Okay. So this is a good question. So I'm not gonna lie, I have momentum. And that's something that I'm really excited about. And so the next step for me is I want to build a team. I realize that like, I can go far by myself, but I can go way farther with people. So a part of really what I want to focus on this next quarter is really building a team, is growing a team. So like, now starting to think about like, maybe someone who can, maybe an analyst or someone who can do that type of job, and maybe sales and marketing, to like really start putting ourselves out there as we build a team. So that's the one big thing for me. And then the second thing that I want to really do this quarter is to really get to know some more operators. Like, really, not when I say get to know, it's not like, hi, my name is Nkem, nice to meet you. But it's really like, get to know them, get to know their books, get to see the investments they've done, really figure out, because I know that like, I'm getting more as I build my investor base, which is another thing that I'm really working on, is people are really interested, and they're like, hey, we want deals. What are you doing? What's in the market? Especially in this kind of weird season we're in, where there hasn't been as many deals. So people are really eager. And so my job is really to spend some time really vetting operators, because not everyone that comes that says, hey, can you capital raise? The answer is not going to be yes, because I truly want to be, I want to be the right representative for my investors. So that's building a team, really vetting the operators is big. And then, like I told you, my big goal would be like at the end of this next quarter, I guess maybe I'll share with you the end. Okay, I'll hold on to that one. I'll share it the end of next quarter. But those are kind of like my big things this next quarter would be like to build a team, like I said, grow the investor base, and really vet some more operators, as I start building Phoenix out.
Beautiful. I am so excited for this journey. And Kim, thank you so much for joining me today. Now, there's so much we could continue to talk about. I'm going to stop though, because I know that I'm just so excited, and I know that you're going to be up to some really cool things. You even before I hit record, you're telling me about some really cool things that you're working on right now. So for the listeners out there, they might want to reach out to you and get to know you a little bit better. How can they contact you?
Okay, so the best way to get to me is via LinkedIn. That's where I'm really trying to grow that, put myself out there. You can always go to our website. It's www.phcinvest.com. And if you fill out the form, I will gladly get you on our Calendly so we can sit down and talk. And then if you just look me up, so those are the biggest ways. LinkedIn and our website are two big ways to get in touch with me.
Perfect. Okay, and Kim, now, before we head out and before I leave you for another 3 months, I wanted to ask you this prior. Is there something that you really, really enjoy so far for the first few months that you've been doing this? Is there one aspect of multifamily investing that you enjoy most yet, or you just like it all?
Okay, so there are two parts to that question, and I'll tell you both, because I think they kind of tie in. The first part is who I've become in this journey. Like, this has been a journey of like personal growth and development, and realizing that like I can do hard things, like I can push myself. And that came honestly through the journey of like entrepreneurship and starting this multifamily investment company. And I thought that was, to me, that was just exciting, because I've seen growth in myself. But another thing that I've really enjoyed is talking to investors, because I realized that people were in the same boat that I was, in that we didn't have access because we did not know about this. We didn't know about this asset class. And so the more I learned, the more I've been able to share, and like the light bulb keeps going out in people's eyes, and they're like, oh, I want to be a part of this. Why didn't they tell me about this? Why didn't I know about this? Or I've been wanting to invest in real estate, but I didn't want to do single family, and this is the way in. So for me, like just being able to like educate people, the more I educate myself, being able to educate people, it's been the most fun for me. Like of course I've learned about due diligence, and I've learned about, like underwriting, and I kind of like underwriting, but I think it's really like seeing what it's done to investors and seeing the potential for partnership in the future. To me, I don't know, that's the part that I've enjoyed the most.
Beautiful. All right, and Kim, I am so excited to catch up with you in a few months. Screw that. I'm going to be talking to you before then, but investors, or my listeners rather, will be hearing in 3 months from now. And I'm just excited for your journey. So thank you for joining me today.
Nico, thank you. I just want to say thank you for, really, I mean it when I said thank you for seeing something in me that you're like, hey, I want to share your journey with everyone else. Like, I think that speaks volumes of you. And then I'm grateful that you saw something in me. And I hope that whoever's listening, that like, if you just take one thing out of this, is like, you can chase your dreams. Like whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it. You just have to take the first step.
Awesome. Thank you, and Kim.
Hey, my beloved listeners. Are you becoming curious about how you can start investing in multifamily real estate today? That is great news. You see, you cannot leave your money just sitting around in a bank while inflation is through the roof and you're losing money. You need to invest that capital in something that's going to provide you cash flow, something that pays you. What is that? Multifamily real estate. So what you should do is go to smallactscommunities.com, book a call with me, and let's begin the conversation of how we can produce financial freedom for you and your family.
All right, Small Axe community. It is your boy Nico, and I'm back for the second quarter wrap up with my boy Tommy Aylis. He's been kicking butt, guys. You might not think so out there, but watch what we're going to talk about. So this is going to be fun. I'm excited to get him on. This has now been, I guess, 6 months into your journey. Tommy, what do you think, man? Welcome back.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me, man. It's always a pleasure talking with you. Always coming out of here, picking up a nugget or two, and look to push forward with it.
Oh man, that's what this is all about. And I'm excited for your journey. And I have one other participant now, whereas I was just going to have you this year, but I got one other. She's doing awesome too. She's based in Tennessee. But let's talk a little bit about your journey. So last we spoke, you were working on your own business. You were working on just kind of practicing underwriting deals, choosing a market still. Where are you at with all of that stuff?
Okay. So still kind of in the same situation, but just a little bit further down the road. Still practicing underwriting. To really get underwriting right, man, it's a lot. It's a lot of practice. But I feel that it's a good tool and it's a very important one to utilize. Especially when wanting to try to do syndications and stuff. I feel a good underwriter is very valuable. And that's really what makes and breaks the deal. So I've been really practicing on that. I've been looking to heavily network. So looking to really network, which we'll touch base on that in a little bit. But as far as my journey, I did mention in our last episode that we were talking about a 56 unit in Pensacola. We did put out an LOI for that. I don't have the greatest feeling on it, but at least it's a step in the right direction. It is an LOI. And I just recently sent out another LOI on a 4 unit in Pensacola as well. Structured a little bit different. I kind of tried the creative approach on this one. So we'll see what happens. I like it. It's in my area. I'm starting to now look a little bit like in Tampa and, in other areas, somewhat close to that Pensacola market as well. So we'll see.
Is there not too much deal flow in the Pensacola area?
It's not. There's not too much multifamily deal flow. There's a lot of single family homes I see, a lot of wholesaling going on. Not something that I really want to try to, backpedal into. I'd rather just keep the blinkers on and move forward with the multifamily space.
Yeah, good idea, man. I highly recommend staying focused on something. And I fall victim to this all the time, man. Somebody sends me a deal that doesn't fit my criteria, and I end up spending time on it, just trying to make it work. And then
Yep.
I just don't know what I'm doing. So I back off. Like I had a recent deal. It was like a redevelopment deal that was off market, and it sounded like a great idea. And I put way too much energy and effort into it. And I'm not moving forward with it in the end.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
You get like that, like you feel sometimes like you're maybe not going in the right direction, but you really are. Like as long as you're pushing that needle in the right direction, doesn't matter if it's like 1 inch or 5 inches, as long as you keep moving in that right direction, don't get the shiny object syndrome. Don't try to bounce from left to right and play Frogger and jump all over the place. Just keep going forward, and that's what I'm doing. And now I'm trying to heavily network. And what I've done recently, and I think that will help my networking tremendously.
Awesome. Yeah, let's talk about that. And then we'll get back into these deals because these deals are important too. And I just kind of want to talk about your thought process with those deals. But what did you join a different group now?
I did. So obviously, that I'm in Jake and Gino. And recently I joined a mastermind group called MIH. And within MIH, I feel that you can really get down to the nitty-gritty and really build a closer community. Not that Jake and Gino's not, of course. But I feel that I could at least get like the be a fly on the wall, so to say, in certain rooms and gain my knowledge that way. Jake and Gino is fabulous. The education there is dynamite. I recommend anybody that is going this direction, Jake and Gino is the way to go. That is your first step, and that will get you propelled. It will get you to the network. It'll move your career path much further down the road. And I feel with MIH, and I mean, you can speak on behalf of it as well. But from what I see, they look like a great group. I feel the networking and the connections that I can make there would be fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to get into a deal, and MIH kind of fast tracks things, which
Yep.
is people like you and me trying to get into a deal. It's like we want to do something, you know. I know that there is a 6 months to a year learning process minimum, but you know what? We just want to get into something. So MIH pairs people very well. So like if somebody has a deal, somebody gets a deal under contract, what they do is, you know, they typically go to Marco, who's running the program, and they'll say, look, I got this deal. What do you think I should do? And he will partner and pair people up based on you know, needs as well as interests, and just make things happen. So deals get closed, deals get done all the time, and I think it's a great move.
Yep, and it's great because it's basically like the, let's say, the sequel to Jake and Gino. You know, it's like that next step in that right direction, you know. And when you go through the Jake and Gino course, you can come into this, and I think it's a fabulous move. I'm excited to see what's going to come out of it, and I look forward to it. Really do.
Yeah, man, it's going to be fun. So what now? Networking is extremely important. And last time we were at a meetup, you and I were hanging out, and you got called out for your business. Talk a little bit about your business and how it still occupies your time.
Oh man, it's tough. It's tough. So you know, as I've mentioned before, I own a transportation company, and you know, you always run into different situations, and unfortunately, you know, this is something that you have to be a little bit more hands-on with. You know, you can't just have a property manager take care of stuff. You know, sometimes you really have to get down and either go take care of a car, or you know, switch something out, or so it occupies a lot of my time. Um, yeah, but it has its goods and its bads. You know, it's like anything else.
Right, man. I know. I hear it. It's a struggle. People like you and I, we want to get into stuff, and we still have the W-2. We still have to work. We still have our obligations. It's cool, man. So let's backtrack a little bit and talk about your thought process with submitting, you know, offers. So are you doing the underwriting yourself? Are you working with a team on those Pensacola deals?
So just with the first Pensacola deal, the larger one, I'm working with my past mentor with. And you know, we just basically were doing some underwriting together on it. Nothing too fancy. We use the tools that, you know, we've found out there. I use tools that Jake and Gino provided. I went over some stuff with Bill Ham as well. Bill Ham taught me a lot. I mean, as far as everybody you talk to, they say he's the master underwriting. So if you have an underwriting, you know, job, he's the one to bring to the task.
Were you like what percentage of asking price were you? So typically, you know, I'll never really offer 100% of asking, but where were you in offer?
So I would probably say we were high. We were somewhere in like 90% of asking price. And only reason that would be is they have a good assumable loan with a low interest rate. And we were we were anticipating on getting seller financing for the balance of it at a very good interest rate. So when you can get creative with that type of stuff, it allows you to give them a little bit higher on their purchase price. And there was a lot of room for rent growth, which they're
Yeah.
already achieving.
How big was this one?
56 units.
Wow, man, that's big. And do you have it all thought out of how you're going to structure it?
Not really. We didn't get that far yet. But you know, when the time comes, you know, everybody you talk to, it's like just find the deal and you'll raise the money or whatever it may be. You know, it'll flow through. But I think just seeing from the looks of things, the deal is the harder of the two to probably try to task out.
Yeah, and where did you find this deal?
So this was an off-market deal. I bought my first duplex in Pensacola. It's like in a cul-de-sac area there. And this is obviously just when I'm first starting out prior to Jake and Gino. I just started to see, how do I find other deals? You know, how do people do this? So I started learning, and I started skip tracing, and I just started shooting some texts and shooting some emails. No VA, no nothing, just right off my cell phone. Got a little interest in it. When I was working with my mentor, I'm like, hey, what do we do with this? You know? So I put it on his lap. He reached out to them, made the connection. About 7 months probably passed, and she reached back out and said, hey, if you guys are still interested in buying, I'm interested in selling. So that's,
Wow.
you know, yeah. So that's where we went with that. But
That's cool, man.
yeah, it's you know, it could be a great story if it goes through, but we'll see. You know, I don't feel too confident in it, but you know, I never want to, you know, get my hopes up for anything.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Yeah, you got it. I mean, you're in the game, you're playing, you're at bat, and that's what's important. You're getting swings. So,
Yep.
awesome stuff, man. All right. So, any thoughts or ideas of the next few months? I know you mentioned networking. What else are you planning on working on?
So I'm just gonna, you know, put my head to the computer and just learn more on the underwriting. So another part I want to learn is direct to seller. Justin Wozniak. I hope I didn't just butcher his last name. Yeah, Cash Flow Cowboy, doing the direct to seller campaign. I've been learning with him, trying to, you know, how to source off market deals. So that's what I've been, you know, really going to focus on now, is the networking, the underwriting, and going off market direct to seller.
Cool, man. Yeah, I'm excited to watch and continue, talking with you and hanging with you. So I can't believe you got this so quickly. You got an LOI and I mean, obviously, yeah, we're all popping in LOIs, but you found this thing off market. You waited 7 months and now you're getting an offer, and that's awesome, man. Congratulations. That's what it's all about. I'm excited.
Yep.
Cool, Tommy. All right, let's yeah. So let's plan on catching up in a few months. I'm excited to continue watching you and seeing you grow, and let's kick some butt, man.
Thank you, brother. It's always a pleasure, man. Thank you, Nico.
All right. Hey, Small Axe community. I would like to say thank you for listening to another episode of my podcast, where we show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. Now, if you liked what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. Also, if you want to get in touch with me, go to my website at smalaxecommunities.com. Book a call with me. And until the next episode, keep sharpening those axes.